Hello everyone, this is GB, and today I'm bringing you my top 11 favorite teams of all time on The Amazing Race. A few quick notes before we begin. First of all, to keep things simple, I've only considered teams from the original American version of the show. If you're wondering why it's a top 11, well that's because there's generally 11 teams on a race, and I thought that was a nice parallel. Finally, keep in mind that these are my opinions, and though you may disagree, I am entitled to them. Please keep your comments civil or I will delete them. Without further ado, let's begin. Number 11. David and Mary. What can I say about these two that hasn't already been said either on the show or by the fans? These are two folks from the middle of nowhere USA. Two down-to-earth folks from Kentucky thrown into a wild race around the world. Twice. David is the unique kind of quiet person who doesn't end up being boring. He's a thinker and an analyzer. Mary, on the other hand, is loud and not afraid to show it. When something doesn't end up going well, she makes sure everyone knows about it so they can fix it. Mostly it's their down-home attitude that makes them so endearing. You can see the excitement in their faces as they see many worldly things for the very first time. Mary even got to be amazed by the cellular phone she was given in Chennai. Beyond that, the two are deeply in love and are one of the closest couples the race has ever had. When they fight with love, and they showed the world that we could love them too. Number 10. Flight Time and Big Easy. These two members of the Harlem Globetrotters initially sent up red flags for me. I saw them and I was afraid of more of the woes that come from stunt casting. To me, this was basically the biggest possible form of product placement. But I was genuinely surprised. Their charisma and upbeat attitude was very enjoyable to watch. As they raced around the world twice, they always tried to find a way to enjoy themselves, and often found things to laugh at along the way. Big Easy trying to figure out his zodiac sign was hilarious. Despite being professional members of the Globetrotters and also friggin' huge, they weren't overpowered god-tier contestants. They had their shortcomings just like everyone else, almost losing their second leg in Dubai. They even got into a squabble with another team in Estonia. They were a great team to watch through almost 2 whole seasons, and it was extremely disappointing to see them fall short in the Florida Keys. Number 9. The Gaghan Family. When I first heard that kids were going to be on the 8th season of the show, you better believe I was excited. I was pumped to see younger people competing in the race. So, I was quite disappointed to see that only 2 of the families had preteen contestants on them, and one of them was eliminated on the first leg. However, the Gaghans continued to race, and I just fell in love with them. Billy and Carissa proved to the other contestants and to me that they could keep up with the adults and do everything they had to do to stay in the race. Both kids even completed a roadblock in Alabama. The parents were sweet too. I love Tammy's voice, and Bill seems like the kind of dad that anyone would love to have. They both had this competitive edge while they were racing, but they didn't let it get in the way of caring and loving for their children. You could see that the kids' well-being was always at the forefront of their minds. I loved them, and they were a shining gem in a season that most people seem to hate. Number 8. Brooke and Claire. And no, it's not just because of the watermelon, although that did help. When I first saw these two, I knew they were going far. I knew they had a lot of potential to be the first all-female team to win, and even though they didn't, they still rocked the race. Brooke has the drive to win, but also the ability to help Claire through the things that were difficult for her. They were also extremely hilarious. Brooke had a smile on her face for pretty much the entire race. She was joking and laughing all the time. Who could forget I'm surrounded by ninjas? She kept a kiss count as she ran, which is just silly. Claire was pretty awesome too. You have to be awesome to get up after a watermelon slingshot to the face. I love these two. They made everything on the race into something fun and silly, and were definitely the shining star of season 17. Number 7. Kevin and Drew. Well, obviously this wouldn't be a favorite tar teams list without Kevin and Drew. They were so funny I gave them their own quotes video. Everything was a joke with these two. Everything was funny, even when they were upset. Especially when they were upset. Their New York voices and their clashing personalities created something akin to a hilarious sitcom whenever they were on screen. Neither was ever willing to back down, continuing to shout until their point was heard. It's hard to even explain what makes them so funny. You just have to spend time listening and watching them. They are the embodiment of funny. Season 1 aired not long after 9/11, and this show about international travel was not being received very well by the recovering Americans. The show did just barely well enough to get a second season, and I'd like to think that Kevin and Drew were one of the factors that helped bring this show forward. The season wouldn't have been the same without them. Number 6. BJ and Tyler. Ta-tow! How could you not love the hippies? The constantly smiling, constantly laughing, and always joking dudes who ran through the race in style. They always gave you something new to laugh at, from their unique fashion sense to the way they interacted with other teams. Even the way they behaved depending on which country they were in. It was always a game to them. Even when the chips were down and they were hours behind the other teams, they never lost their good spirits and never gave up. Lost in the back roads of Greece, or BJ trying and failing to do the roadblock in Oman, it didn't matter to them because they never quit. Tyler in particular has also released a documentary of his hiking trek across the entire length of Japan, called Kintaro Walks Japan. This is also a very interesting video, and you should check it out. From the start, I had pegged these two as winners. Even though Eric and Jeremy consistently did better, I was always saying, no, these two are going to win it all. And they didn't disappoint. Number 5. Bopper and Mark. Oh man, do I adore these two. They're like David and Mary 2.0. These two come from a town that's even smaller than where the coal miner and wife hail from, and it's right smack in the middle of nowhere. Not only that, but they came on the race with a heartfelt mission to help their kids out by winning the money. That's all extremely awesome and makes them a great team. Then you learn that Bopper is absolutely hilarious. My goodness, you're not going to find anyone like Bopper if you look for 100 years. He's almost like a cartoon character. He's wild and unhinged, not afraid to show his crazy side. He was mugging to the camera and screaming in victory all the time, and it just made me smile whenever he was on screen. Then you have Mark, who is a little more subdued, but he can still crack a joke from time to time. However, for me personally, I really identify with Mark, because he is extremely prone to motion sickness. In that regard, he's nearly a carbon copy of myself. Like him, I cannot ride in the backseat of a car or I'll more than likely throw up. So it was great to see a team like this go so far and also make me smile so much. Number 4. Margie and Luke. When I first heard that there was going to be a deaf person on The Amazing Race, I was blown away. Colin from The Amazing Race Asia 2 was hearing impaired, but he could still hear. So this was going to be totally different. Luke and his mother Margie came on the race to show the world what they could do, and boy did they deliver. It was so unique seeing a team communicate with each other through sign language like that. Right off the bat, when Phil was talking to the teams at the starting line, Luke wasn't even looking at him. Margie was translating everything for him. That's a definite dedication, a real star of a mother. It was also awesome seeing Phil use sign language at each pit stop. Luke himself is a great person. He's smart and cunning, but he does not let his disability get in the way one bit. But at the same time, he's got his vulnerabilities too. This makes him a great person to cheer for because you want him to succeed, but at the same time, you don't know for sure if he will. Then there's his mother. She has the perseverance and determination to make up for Luke's flaws, so they make a great team together. Definitely the best parent-child team to ever run the race. Number 3. Zevon Justin. I'm sure I was like most of you when the third leg of the 15th season aired. Zevon Justin came in first place, then lost their passport. That will go down in history as one of the most devastating losses in the history of the show, and I was thrilled to see them come back for unfinished business. You might be noticing a theme here. I tend to like teams that are unique in some way. The show has had a bad habit of casting bland couple teams who don't have anything new besides, we're in love, no, we're fighting, rah! Yawn. So to see these two best buddies run the race is great, especially when one of them is Zev. Despite having Asperger's syndrome, Zev is a really strong and competent racer. He knows what he's doing and what has to get done. What really makes this team amazing is their personalities. The two of them act like my friends and I do when we're together in the same room. We riff on everything around us. Something happens or we go somewhere, we pick apart at it, finding the flaws and expressing them in humorous ways. Not only that, but we riff on each other too. It can get pretty hilarious, and it's the same with these two. They turn the show into a comedy performance, and it's awesome. Number 2. Jett and Cord. Oh my gravy! Boy, was it a real treat to see these two cowboys running the race in season 16. Right from the get-go, I knew I was going to like them. Their country accents are just precious. Everything they say sounds more awesome automatically. I got a smile every single episode when they would rip open a clue and find a detour. They even had their own theme song. Jett and Cord are also some of the strongest racers the show has ever had. However, unlike certain other really strong teams, they don't lord over their strength or shove it down others' throats, neither the other teams nor the audience. They didn't make it a point to show their strength, they simply were strong. They weren't the strongest, however, and still had some flaws, which makes them more identifiable. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for visually unique teams, for example, Kint and Vixen. These two wore cowboy hats, a black one for Jett and a beige one for Cord. Everywhere they went. They never took off these hats unless they had to. If only one had to take it off, the other would wear it on top of his own. It was like a symbol for them. Jett even bungee jumped while wearing his hat, which is just awesome. Their loss in the finale in San Francisco is something I still dwell on today. It was a shocking and terrible event that will forever be in my memory. Every moment with these two on screen brought a smile to my face, and I just saw those two cowboy hats and the episode got a little bit brighter. And my number one favorite team of The Amazing Race is Dustin and Candice. I started watching this show 3/4 of the way through season 6. Through those seasons, I saw many beauty teams, whether they were pageant contestants or models. Hayden and Aaron, Kelly of Ron and Kelly. I saw a few from reruns of older seasons too. Beauty contestants are almost always very boring. I really do not like them. So I saw Dustin and Candice and saw that they were both beauty queens, and I was not looking forward to seeing them. And then they blew me away. These were unlike any beauty contestant I'd ever seen before. These two were fun! They enjoyed themselves and the cultures they found themselves in, and they were good. They were really good, forming strategies, pushing as hard as they could, and just going. The race is hard, but they smashed it, twice. These were some serious competitors. Everything about these two is something I love. Their looks, their charm, their charisma, their sense of humor, their attitude, their skill. They knew how to play the game and they played it. They saw the yield and they took advantage of it. You know, like a smart person is supposed to do. Every time I see someone pass up a yield or a U-turn because it's not their style or because of karma, it makes me like them a little less. It just doesn't make any logical sense to skip something that is going to help you out immensely. Out of all the teams, I maintain that these are the strongest and best all-female team of all time, and they really should have won the All-Stars race. Like, seriously. They climbed over walls, they jumped off of buildings, they delivered heavy trunks in Zanzibar when everyone else did a simple puzzle. They got screwed twice by the intersection, but they always bounced back. They are, in my opinion, the best team ever on The Amazing Race, and they also helped make Season 10 my all-time favorite season. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and please remember to be civil in the comments. Always keep in mind that no matter how hard you try, you're not going to change my opinion, but you can still have your own.